And yet another sign of just how surreal this presidential campaign has become. Some members of Congress who abandoned Trump have now reversed course. It's a clear indication of the incredibly difficult spot that Donald Trump is putting so many Republican lawmakers in. Dozens of Republicans initially distanced themselves from Trump in the wake of his 2005 lewd comments released last Friday. But after Trump's debate performance and a backlash from the base from Trump supporters, Senators Deb Fischer and John Thune and Congressman Bradley Byrne and Scott Garrett, who all pulled their backing of Trump after the tape surfaced, all announced they were now back on board over the last few days. For many Republicans, whether they're on the ballot or not, Trump has put them in what's really a no-win situation. Check out this ad aimed at California Republican Congressman Steve Knight, who distanced himself from Trump Saturday.
Unlike extremist Congressman Steve Knight, I'll stand up to bullies like Donald Trump.
Joining me now is NBC News senior political editor and one of the authors of our First Read newsletter, Mark Murray. Mark, nice to see you. So this excruciating dilemma that still exists for so many Republicans, we were talking about it at the start of this week. It's only deepening right now as more accusations come out against Donald Trump right now. What do Republicans do in this quandary?
They actually hope that the story kind of goes away or they don't get asked these kind of questions. This does put them in a really tough spot. So on the one hand, partisanship is such a powerful force that even if you have reservations, if you're a good Republican and good Republican standing, you have to be for Donald Trump and against Hillary Clinton. The problem is are in a swing state, and one of the people who kind of comes to mind is New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte. Right. All of a sudden you say, well, I can no longer support someone like you. But Peter, the fact that we're even having this discussion, we're seeing some Republicans distance themselves, some re-endorse Donald Trump, never has happened since I've been covering politics. That, you know what, every single Republican, 99.9% gets on board. We're not even talking about any Democratic defections.
So what's the future consequence of that, I think, for those individuals, right? Like the Deb Fischers and John Thunes of the world who basically said, hey, I'm not going to support him. I think he should step aside. But he didn't, so now I'm going to vote for him.
In the short term, if you basically say that you're not going to support Donald Trump, then you could end up getting primaried. You would have a hard problem with your base. I think the problem a lot of people are working on, if you assume that Donald Trump is going to lose in November and lose by a big margin, history is not going to look very kindly on where you were on this. And so, again, there are a lot of cross pressures, and I think some are just deciding I'm going to still bet with the party and see how everything shakes out.
You guys brought us the new numbers just about an hour ago. Donald Trump down in North Carolina by 4 points, up in Ohio, as he touted just a few minutes ago, in Ohio by 1 point right now. These numbers, I think, are sort of striking, right? I mean, he's still in the race in Ohio, and North Carolina, a state that he would need to win on top of Florida and Pennsylvania, which we'll talk about. But he's still in the hunt in these states.
Yeah, so good news for Donald Trump in all the polls that we've actually taken in the past week in key battlegrounds. He's up or tied in Ohio, Peter. He's in the ball game, but here is his dilemma. He has to win all 4 states of Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and only one poll that we have of the 4 ends up showing him either ahead or tied.
And more broadly in Pennsylvania, he's down by double digits.
And that's just a very tough place to be. And still, while you might end up saying, oh, you're only up 4 points in North Carolina for Hillary Clinton, do remember that Mitt Romney only won the state by 1 or 2 percentage points. Barack Obama only won Florida 1 percentage points. Hillary Clinton, according to our polling, is 3. So in these battlegrounds, there's a reason why they call them battlegrounds. They're always going to be close. The question is, do you have the turnout operation and the enthusiasm to be able to win close races?
Which is another question. I mean, just the turnout operation in general. And I was speaking to some folks in Nevada today, and they insist that they're seeing a surge of new volunteers right now. But there's also been real frustration that they haven't got the resources in some places that they want right now. What was the impact of pulling out of Virginia for that campaign? 13 electoral votes now out the door.
Again, Peter, it puts all the pressure on the 4 states that you and I were just talking about. You have to run the table in Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. There is absolutely no margin for error. And as you mentioned, in Pennsylvania, where polls show Donald Trump trailing by either high single digits or double digits, boy, that's a very tough place to be.
At the end of this week, I think a lot of people are still struck that he's up in Ohio, but as you point out, he's got a long way to go to be viable.
Absolutely. He's got to be up in even more polls than that one.
Yeah, Mark, thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
More MTP Daily right after this.